Welcome to this episode of Down the Line with Charlie and Bo. Today we are at the Navy Yard. Guys, I never knew this place was here.
Sam, you know, I must have gone over that bridge thousands of times since I've been in Philadelphia as a member of the Phillies. I had no idea this place was here.
Yeah, Sam, I'm gonna tell you something. I've been coming here for 5 or 6 years, and I think this is one of the greatest places that I've ever been. And I would love to have my own condo or house or something here. And if I'm supposed to be so popular in Philly, please help me out.
Help him out. Okay, so we're gonna take a tour. Stay tuned. Down the Line is brought to you in part by the Valley Forge Tourism and Convention Board. Visit Montgomery County's main streets. Find out more at makeitmainstreet.com. Welcome back to Down the Line. We now have with us Lieutenant Commander Whalen. He's also the Executive Officer of the NSA Mechanicsburg in Philadelphia. Commander, what are some of your daily routines in that position?
I'm the Executive Officer of Philadelphia Navy Yard Annex, Naval Support Activity Philadelphia, and Naval Support Activity Mechanicsburg. We have 13,000 tenants in our 3 locations, and we have a variety of missions. We support the security of all of those missions.
So all these vessels, Commander, are inactive, right?
Yes, all of the vessels behind me are all inactive.
Now, does that mean that they're done, or you can sell them to other countries, or? But as far as the United States is concerned, they are inactive.
Yes, they are inactive, and there is a potential for foreign Navy sales. We also use them for parts, and over the last 10 years, we've taken like $200 million worth of parts, which is essentially a saving to the taxpayer, and put them back into the fleet.
One of the things you mentioned that you do on an everyday task, or your program does, is you guys do the presidential flags.
Yes.
And they are all hand-stitched?
Hand-stitched, all of them up in the Northeast Philadelphia NSA branch, yes.
When people do that, is that a separate program, or is it all former military? Is it veterans?
I think that's a mix. I think it's whoever has the skills to do the job is how you get that job. They're actually a great bunch of people up there. I talk to them almost once a week. They're a great bunch of people.
And then obviously we have all these ships behind us. They're inactive, so how often would you say you get quote-unquote new ships? Obviously they're not running, but how often do new ones come in?
That really depends on the life cycle management plan for the ship. Right now they're decommissioning a lot of the cruisers, which is one of the ships behind us here. Outside of that, it's really whatever the life cycle management of the ship was prescribed, how long they think they can use it without it being in bad condition, or if the mission just changes and they've decided they're going to decommission it because the mission changed.
Now, these ships are huge, and you guys have big crews, and there's got to be somebody that leads it, and obviously it's different naval leadership and baseball leadership, but that has to be something that you guys can kind of
Put together?
Yes, that you guys can relate to, and the fact that you guys had to lead guys too. I mean, we're part of a leadership team that won. You led a team to the World Series trophy. So there's got to be some similarities there. Can you guys talk on that?
I'd like to ask the commander about, like Bo and I, both of us got fired. And I look at it sometime and I think to myself, well, you got a captain, or you got a, what do you call it, from a captain. What else?
Commander?
You got the
Commander.
Yeah, you got
You
an
got the
XO like
commander.
I am.
And I would like to ask you, do they ever remove a captain or a commander or
Yes, they do.
They do?
Usually,
There.
if you run a ship aground, you get fired. That's usually how that works.
yeah, that's kind of similar to baseball.
It
We
is.
got
Right.
something-
I was going to say, Chuck, the thing that I'm astonished about is we go on 2-week road trips, right?
Right.
And talking to the commander here, you guys are out there maybe 6 months.
Yes.
So that means, well, we're without our families for 2 weeks, which at the time it feels like forever. I can't even imagine what it's like to be on the ocean for 6 months away from your family. How do you get through something like that? I mean,
Well, I think it's a lot of the people that join the Navy, they start out in the Navy and then they get married. But if you've ever seen, when a ship comes in and it's a homecoming and all the
Right.
families on the pier and everything else, it's a really emotional event. And obviously it's, it is an ordeal, and families do certainly sacrifice with their, whoever it is that's in the Navy, whether it's the wife or the husband or whatever. They do sacrifice themselves.
What would be called a long time to be out on a ship? If a year, 6 months?
Well, the year thing is usually if it's real mission specific. You're out already on a mission, and then something happens, and then you get stuck out there and extended. That a year is probably about the max you'll be stuck out there, which obviously nobody's really excited about. Clearly.
So, Commander, when you go out, obviously, say there's nothing going on in the Middle East or anything like that, then all of a sudden something comes up. Can you go from being just on a mission to high alert or anything like that? Does that happen?
Yes, absolutely
Wow,
does.
I don't know about that. I mean, that'd be tough. I mean, you're
Well,
going out there thinking everything's cool.
Well, it's part of the job.
Oh, I get that, but
Yeah.
that's got to be mentally tough.
Excuse me, but I'm sorry, Bo.
That's all right.
Do they ever camouflage ships? Send one ship one way, but the main ship will go another way and things like that? Or can I ask that question?
Yeah, I don't know. Not like you're thinking they do. No.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
Well, I tell you what, I'm amazed at, I drive by this thing going over the bridge every day, and I've seen all these vessels, and I really thought they were just getting repaired here, but as you told us, they're done, with the exception of if you want to sell them to another
right.
country, and you can, I guess, a lot of scraps can go into another part of
Well, there's
another
a
vessel.
lot of steel here they can recycle and
It's very interesting.
use for other uses.
Very
I've been
interesting.
coming over here for like 5 or 6 years, and I used to walk, and some days I walk 5 miles, some days I walk 10 miles, and I used to find this my favorite place. And I tell Missy all the time about if they ever build houses in here, or they ever have townhouses or apartments or something like that, this is where I'm going to buy me a place in Philadelphia.
It would be a good place.
For
Well,
some
there-
reason, like I love the scenery and I love to look at the ships and everything about it. Like when I look out across right now and I see the bridge and the trucks and cars on it and the ships, and it just, I don't know, it just got a warm feeling about it, and also it's very interesting.
Yeah, well, they're planning. There's plans in the works to do that eventually.
We'll make sure we get it on the ground floor on those condos and that.
Okay, all right.
Well, Commander, we already got a lot, but we have a lot more questions for you. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned for more down the line.
They're not just familiar faces, they're your friends and neighbors. It's their small businesses, a beating heart that makes a neighborhood a home, where personality is served on a plate and imagination paints a brighter world. A place where fresh is always in stock with a personal touch passed down through generations. Support small and make a big difference. Make it local. Make it Main Street. Make it Montco.
Welcome back to Down the Line. We're here now at the JFK aircraft carrier. And before we learn more about this, we have another familiar Phillies face, longtime Phillies broadcaster, Greg Murphy. Greg, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. Good to see all of you. It's been
Good to see you, Murph.
Yeah, and I'm loving our backdrop here. It's pretty impressive. This entire Navy Yard.
Commander, the ship was decommissioned to this Navy Yard in 2007. So it was built in 1968 or started service then.
Right.
What were some of the responsibilities that this ship would have?
It started service in 1968, and after 40 years, it was decommissioned in August 1st, 2007, and then they eventually dragged it here, and they will make it a museum ship possibly, or get spare parts off it, or just, sell it for scrap.
It's really amazing when you stop and you take a look at this thing and you think when it was in full use, in full service, the amount of people that need to be on board to run a ship like this. It's an incredible operation. It's like an entire system, a baseball organization from top to bottom. You need everybody kind of doing their role, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It had everything on here, from air wings to doctors to basically everything you could think of, cooks, everything that you need to live in a city, it was on this ship.
Murph, I watched a lot of these TV movies where these jet fighters come in and they land, on a dime. My question is, how long does it take those pilots to train to pull off those kind of coming in at full speed, stop on a dime, and take off again?
Well, it actually takes several years, and there's a lot of simulator work, which is obviously a lot safer since simulators are just computer generated. And when they come in, there's a thing they have to line up that they call the meatball. When the meatball's lined up, they know they're on the right glide slope in to hit the catch ropes. And at that point, they have to go full throttle. So if they miss the ropes, they will be able to take off and not crash into the ocean.
Wow.
But it takes years. It takes years. And when you first become a pilot on a carrier, you're called a nugget. And then eventually you're considered a full member of the crew.
So it's like a baseball player. It takes years, he said.
So are you saying that it's better to reps are better than rest? Or what are you saying?
I see what you're doing there,
I know
Charlie.
where you're going with that, Chuck.
Practice, right?
Exactly.
Makes you better.
Yes, lots and lots of practice.
You know what I want to see?
Every day counts.
You know what I want to see, Chuck? I want to see Ryan Howard, Schmitty, Tomey, and Harper have a home run contest off this big vessel right here. See who hits the ball the farthest on this.
See if they can hit it all the way to New Jersey
I don't
across
know, but some of them might be able to. They were strong people, believe me.
Oh no, you're talking about 4 acres. Like 4 acres is what? It's more than 4 football fields.
Yeah.
So when you start,
Well, we just go for the
we'll
distance.
do some, even some of those guys might not be that strong. But imagine if you throw a nice little hard ball in there, they might be able to hit it.
Oh, we could hit some golf balls.
Yeah.
That might be better.
Yeah. Well, mine would just go off the port side, I think. And there they go. It's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about how many planes could fit on the flight deck at one time, or in the ship itself?
Well, I think that really kind of depended on which planes they had on the air wings at the time. So, because obviously bigger planes, you're not going to be able to fit as much. So if there was, F-14s or EA-6Bs, some are bigger, some are smaller. So that was kind of widely varied. So if I say 20 per squad, that might not be all that accurate, but clearly there was a lot. And there was also had helicopters, and they had medical helicopters, they had cargo helicopters, they had anti-sub helicopters. There was a whole lot of equipment on this carrier, and it had to exist basically as its own city for months at a time.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And Sam, I know you guys talked about this a little bit earlier in the show, but just the similarities between a baseball organization from top to bottom and what the military has to do. Obviously, the stakes are much higher for the folks in our military, but it's interesting to see how the discipline is so important in both aspects.
It's trust. In baseball, you trust the guy that's hitting after you. You trust somebody that's coming in the 8th inning. You trust your starting pitching. And I'm sure, Commander, that you have to have a lot of trust in everybody that works on this big vessel, because if 2 or 3 guys aren't in line, all hell can break loose there, basically. It's the same thing on baseball, right?
Exactly. I'm sure that everyone has to do their job, and that's the same in baseball. We're looking for a lineup that's consistent, day in and day out. And when you stay focused, you got to stay focused on, if you're out to sea 6 months, I guarantee you have to stay focused, because that's, you got a job to do, and doing it right is very important.
Well, the deck of an aircraft carrier is one of the more dangerous places in, yes.
Right.
Well, personally, I know Charlie probably feels the same way, and we just like to thank you for the security and everything, because if it was without the Navy and the Armed Forces, we wouldn't have been able to do what we do. Play baseball, don't worry about what's going on in the rest of the world, because people like you have made our country so secure, and I just want to take my hat off to you guys.
Well, I appreciate the support.
Service ties goes back in my family for a long time. My dad and his two of his brothers, and on my mom's side, she had like 2 uncles. Both of those guys were in the Navy, and I remember that we'd get together at Christmas or something like that, and they'd always get in an argument. I think 2 of them was in the Army, 1 was in the Marines, and 2 were Navy. And they used to argue all the time about who's the best and everything like that.
Yeah, that still goes on.
It became a good argument, really.
Yeah.
Murph, you have a son, right?
I do. I guess that's my connection right now to the Navy Yard and to our military. My son is down at Annapolis, just finished up his first year, getting ready to start that second year, and really starting to learn what it means to be a Navy man, and to kind of dedicate your life to one purpose and one cause. And that's what he's learning right now. It's obviously a source of great pride for all of us, and it's nerve-wracking as a parent, for sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it's also so necessary and so exciting for us as well.
Well, to your point, he's starting a great family tradition. Hopefully it will continue. Similar to Charlie, my grandfather was in World War II, and he actually came through this shipyard when World War II ended. My great-grandfather was on the Connecticut, and he actually came through here in between World War I and the Great White Fleet. And so, I mean, the history of this place.
There we go.
History of this place goes on forever.
When we come back, we'll learn more about Murph's son at the Naval Academy, and we'll talk more about the relationships between athletes and how those qualities can transfer over into being in the military. Stay tuned to Down the Line. Welcome back. We are now joined by another officer, Petty Officer Flynn. And now we were just at the JFK aircraft carrier, and you have some experience on one. Can you give us a kind of brief explanation of your duties on the ship?
Yeah, so I was aboard the USS Harry S. Truman, which was based out of Norfolk, Virginia. I was there from 2015 to 2019. My job in the Navy, I'm a mass communication specialist, so similar to what you guys do, we give the stories to the public that the Navy guys are doing day in and day out. So we're a 24/7 operating ship, 5,500 people or so when we're out to sea. That's with our air squadrons and everything. And my day-to-day was photography, writing, graphic design, stuff like that, stuff that we could put out to social media and put out to media outlets so that the people back home can see what it is that the sailors are doing while out to sea and forward deployed.
That sounds amazing. There's so many crossovers.
They have much more responsibility than we do.
Much more.
And a few more teammates too. 5,500 guys on the ship. That's a lot of moving parts.
Living in close quarters with everybody, so you gotta really get along.
You know what's amazing about that, Chuck? Sometimes we have trouble keeping 25 guys happy. He's got to keep 5,500 happy. Wow, that's incredible.
He's got to keep 300 and some million safe.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, Commander, what is this behind us right now?
This is one of the spare gun barrels for the battleship New Jersey that is currently stationed up in Camden, across the river from Philadelphia. It's the biggest naval guns ever put out to sea. Yeah, they're 16-inch shells. They range between 1,900 and 2,800 pounds per shell.
See, I thought this was a howitzer.
Nah, a little bigger than a howitzer.
Yeah, I could imagine.
So how far does, when you fire one of these, how far can this thing go?
So when my uncle was in Vietnam, he was on the back of a destroyer, and he used to watch these things. And 20 to 25 miles, they were accurate within 50 feet.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That is incredible.
That's kind of how I shoot a shotgun back home, really, or a rifle.
So something that accurate and that powerful, it's not only manned by one person. How many people would be on one crew to make this thing go?
Just in the turret, it would be 25, 28 people, and that's just per turret, and Jersey has 4 of them. So that's why there was, over 2,000 people every time the Jersey had to go out to sea.
Wow, so that's a lot of people on a ship again.
Yes.
So we're seeing that a lot. And one thing, Murph, we already talked about your son at the U.S. Naval Academy. He's about to be on his first, would it be a tour, cruise?
I think his first cruise, I think it's up and down the East Coast. I don't think it's quite 5,500 folks on one ship, but they are. They're kind of, getting their feet wet and learning all about what it takes to be a Navy man and to be a Navy officer. And I know he's really excited about it. There's some nerves involved as well, because it's kind of the unknown at this point. But with each passing day, he's learning more and more about leadership and what it takes to be in that very special company. And we can see it. We can see the changes in him.
Murph, I got a question. He didn't just wake up when he was a senior saying, hey, I think I'm going to go to the Naval Academy. When did this all start to transpire, and when did you say, hey, this is going to be serious here?
Yeah, it's funny. So Matt was an athlete, he's a swimmer, and there were a lot of schools that were knocking on his door his junior year of high school. He started taking some official visits all over the country. The Naval Academy called, the coaches called and asked him to come down and spend a weekend at Annapolis, and the moment that he got home, that was it. He shut down. He said, this is where I want to be. And from that moment on, it takes a lot of extra effort to get into one of the service academies. There's a lot you have to do to make it a reality. So he put all his efforts, all his energies into making sure that he got one of those spots in the Naval Academy, and ultimately he did. And I think it's fair to say, even after just 1 year, he's certainly in the right place. It's the perfect spot for him. He's competing for the Naval Academy, and he's getting ready for his career in the Navy.
I know you're a proud dad, and you're not going to, so I'll bring it up. Not only is he going to protect our country, but he just had a great experience, didn't he, as far as the Olympics were concerned?
He did. He was lucky enough. He and I think it was 16 men from the U.S. Navy swim and dive team made it to the Olympic trials. Matthew was one of them. Fared very well while he was there. It was exciting. We were out there in Omaha to watch him swim. And, to make the Olympic team, you have to be one of the 2 best in the country. He fell short of that, but the experience and representing the Naval Academy was really special. And, hopefully he gets another shot at it in a couple of years.
Murph, you already said that you see some changes in his responsibility and he's growing up, but how do you think him being such a good athlete, those skills and traits like we've been talking throughout the show, how do you think that's helped him progress into what he's becoming?
Yeah, I think, you learn lessons growing up and playing sports. You learn lessons about being a good teammate, about, reacting to leadership. And sports does that for us as we're young people. And, if you're lucky enough to go on and make it your profession like these guys have, you continue to grow. But I would imagine, Petty Officer Flynn, that you can talk about, the importance of the discipline that it takes, not only to be a top athlete, but to be a top midshipman as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like you said, I think discipline's definitely, being dedicated to your craft and wanting to get better every day, and being able to take constructive criticism from the people above you. So when they tell you, hey, you should be doing something a certain way instead of the way you're doing it now, not getting upset about that, and kind of trusting that the people that are leading you are, put you in the right direction. So
constructive criticism. You guys probably threw some of that out there, right?
That's very good. I love what he said, and that's basically what becoming a good player is, especially a hitter. Like I've been a hitting coach probably ever since I've been in baseball. But at the same time, too, what he said, dedication, the work ethic, and everything like that, self-discipline. I'm always telling hitters, if you can't discipline yourself, how can you be disciplined at the plate? Or things like that. But that gets right into what he's talking about and the price that you have to pay to be good or do your job.
And getting back to what you said, constructive criticism, there's a difference between constructive criticism and this generation of young players in baseball. I'm not talking about the Navy. Sometimes they take constructive criticism like you are getting on them. And basically what Charlie and I, when we go down in the minor leagues and we see something that can be corrected, you gotta hope these guys are mentally tough. And I'm sure being in the Navy, you have to have some mental toughness. I don't see all that in baseball now. I do see it in the military, which I think is great, but I think if we can establish a little bit more mental toughness in what we choose to be our occupation, I think you would see a better minor league system, and you see these guys get into the big leagues a lot quicker. But mental discipline, I love what you just said, and I know you guys have great mental discipline.
Yep, yeah, I would say that's definitely something that's instilled in you from the beginning. And like you said, the constructive side of the criticism. It's not trying to insult you or saying you're doing something wrong. It's trying to make you better every day.
Yeah. How about your Sarge? Was he tough?
At times it could be tough on you. They let you know when you messed up. So, you know, just try to, you just toe the line and, you know, do the things. You not always have to do it exactly how you think it should be done, how someone who's done it before is telling you how it should be done.
There you go.
Experience.
Yeah.
Which means they should have listened to you guys, right? You guys had all the experience in the book.
That's another show, Sam. We can get into that a little later. That's a whole nother show.
Hey, Sam, that one's down to years, 2 or 3 years.
Really
from now,
down
right?
the
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Petty Officer Flynn and Commander Whalen. We respect you guys so much. Thank you not only for coming on the show, but for all your service and your sacrifices that you guys have been through. Thank you so much, Greg, for coming on the show. We will see you soon. I'm sure about that.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you.
For Charlie and Larry, I'm Sam, and we'll see you down the line.
Down the Line is brought to you in part by the Valley Forge Tourism and Convention Board. Visit Montgomery County's main streets. Find out more at makeitmainstreet.com.